Uncle Gabe. Hello, Uncle Gabe. So,
Hello.
so what was your most memorable weather event?
My most memorable weather event was the Allison Tropical Depression while we were living in Houston in 2001.
Where did this occur?
It actually happened, it made landfall just southeast of Houston. The storm itself, the center of the storm, happened in June of 2001 in the Brazoria County, which is just southeast of Houston. It then, the storm itself moved over the center of downtown Houston in Harris County and stayed there for about an hour straight, right over the direct dead center of Harris County. And then it made its way northeast over the eastern counties of Texas.
Who was with you at the time of this weather event?
Well, at that time, it was evening time when we noticed the event occurring. So we were at home. It was myself, my wife, and I had a newborn at the time, Emma. We also had visiting my in-laws, my brother-in-law, Matt, and his wife, Melissa, and my dog.
When did this event occur and how old were you?
Let's see, in 2001, I didn't have to do the math, so that was 17 years ago, roughly in my late 30s. But it was in June of 2001, and so it was a Friday evening, I believe, when the storm rolled in just before the weekend.
How long did this weather event last?
Well, the portion that affected us lasted. The initial impact, the hardest part was in the evening time, but the rainstorm itself lasted through the next day, about 24 hours. Now, the impact of the entire storm was about a week's time before waters receded and the normalcy came back to the city itself.
How much money did they spend on rebuilding the place?
Well, they spent hundreds of millions of dollars rebuilding the infrastructure that needed to get done. I think the biggest impact, there's two impacts that from a dollar standpoint is when it hit the medical center, which is the southern central portion of downtown, all the downtown tunnel systems from Houston got flooded. So the medical center and the downtown tunnel systems all had to be completely gutted and rebuilt. For that system. Now, also the streets and utilities had to be addressed as well. Now, all that was probably the biggest dollar amounts, but the most human impact were the residences that all got flooded. So for months and in some cases years, the people were rebuilding their houses, from the flood. So immediately after the flood, the streets were filled with debris from people, cleaning out their houses.
Have you been in any other weather events?
Well, I haven't personally been. Well, yeah, I've been to some tornado events, but those were much more obscure than what the Allison was, because Allison affected us in a more personal way, that it was right on top of us. It tore up the city that we're living in. The tornado events were much more minor, just in the general area, but didn't really affect us.
What time of season did this weather event happen?
It happened in the summer 2001.
What were you doing when this weather event happened?
Well, I was watching the news, watching TV, just kind of sitting down. Everybody had already kind of gone to bed, and they were talking about the storm, coming in. At that point, just like any other storm, you saw the radar. Didn't really register for me how the impact until I'm sitting there watching, and everybody else was again in bed, and it sounded. All of a sudden, I started to hear the sound like a train was going down the street, which was very rare because there was no train track running down the front of my street. There was a train track indeed about 6 blocks from us, but all you would hear from that was the sound of the horn. This actually sounded like there was a train right outside the door. So I got up and opened the door, And what I saw then was all the trees that were just kind of normal there. You know, we have pine trees in East Texas, Houston area, so they're up 90 feet. They were all bent sideways because the wind was blowing them in that direction. And the other most amazing and scary thing was from my front door, about 12 feet from the front door, which is where the porch starts. From there, all the way as far as I could see at night across the street, it was a river flowing down from left to right. Not flood, streaming water, but literally a river, a Russian white-capped river running down the street.
Thank you for your time, and
You're welcome.
thank you for letting me ask you these questions.
Anytime.
What made this storm such a disaster?
Well, to date, Tropical Storm Allison is ranked as the fifth most biggest storm amount of rainfall in one period in the United States. What that means is these pictures that I pulled from the Houston Chronicles website really kind of hit home and showed the amount of water that pounded within that 1 hour. It's 13 inches in 1 hour. This is actually nearby the house where we live. After the waters already receded, the waters were over the top of this bridge. This is the next day. We were standing over here taking a look at it. You can see how much debris and the water had filled up just underneath the bridge. The other part of the impact, as you can see, that's Buffalo Bayou. This is actually a highway system going underneath and a park which is completely underwater at that particular time. So the amount of water dumped in that 1 hour where the depression itself just sat was the incredible part that probably will never happen again in history.
Thank you for letting me interview you and asking you these questions. These next few pictures are the aftermath of Tropical Storm Allison. This map shows the widespread impact Tropical Storm Allison had on the Gulf Coast. And that's my interview with my Uncle Gabe about his most memorable weather event. Hope you enjoyed it.